And when B12 and the R protein come into the stomach, hydrochloric acid breaks that union. What also is released in the stomach is intrinsic factor. Now, intrinsic factor and the free B12 travel together all the way down the gut until they get to the last part of the small intestine. Then intrinsic factor and B12 unite, and they're absorbed now into the body. So if someone has low B12, it could simply mean they've got low hydrochloric acid, or their gut is not making intrinsic factor. Because once the B12's absorbed, there's an enterohepatic circulation that connects this area with the liver. And B12 can be constantly circulating. So someone can have no B12 in their diet for 30 years before they can show a B12 deficiency. So if someone has a B12 deficiency, the first thing I look at is the function of the stomach. And one of the signs that someone has low hydrochloric acid is they've eaten a meal, 6 hours later, they're still feeling full. You see, if we had nice strong hydrochloric acid, it breaks down the food, of course, with the connection of pepsinogen quite quickly. I've never met anyone with too much acid in their stomach. If someone says, I've got an over-acid stomach, my question is, how do you know? Oh, I can feel it burning. Oh, the problem's not the acid, the problem might be you're dehydrated and you haven't got enough mucus, because mucus is 99% water. I know it's acid because it keeps coming up here. Well, the problem's not the acid. The problem is this little gate here. You see that little gate called the cardiac sphincter? It should be closed, and if it's closed, no acid will come up. So why would acid come up? Because that little gate is weak. Why would it be weak? A lot of people today have breakfast like a pauper, lunch like a pauper, and dinner is the king and the queen together. And then they lie down at night and gravity presses against that little cardiac sphincter, weakening it. And that little muscle, well, that little sphincter is a muscle, and when it's relaxed, it's closed. And when it tightens, it opens. So stress when all the muscles tighten can open it. So two things will heal reflux or heartburn. One is eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, and dinner like a pauper, or you say supper. And take magnesium 3 times a day. Is it that simple? It is. Isn't that good news? And if someone takes antacid to stop the acid going up, what's my next question? What's going to break the protein down now? Huh? And you know what long-term low antacids they're finding is producing now? Colon cancer. Because the protein's not getting broken down, partially digested protein is reaching the large colon, and then the body says, what are you doing here? Quick, we have to create a lot of bacteria to deal with that, and that excess bacteria can start eating down the colon wall. And if someone says to me, I've been on antacids for 25 years, is it working? 25 years? What's the definition of insanity? To do what you've always done and expect different results? So what would cause a weakening in the production of hydrochloric acid? Drinking with the meals. You see, digestion is a chemical process, and that whole reaction I just showed you only happens in an acid environment. If people are drinking with their meals, it waters down the acid so you don't get that connection. And it's an American habit, isn't it? Certainly an Australian habit. Michael and I go to a restaurant and the waiter, what's the first thing he asks? What will you drink? No, we won't have anything to drink. Oh, we'll just bring you water. Now, if we say no, thank you, every waiter in the restaurant is coming to us. You don't have water? We let them put the water there. Okay, that just keeps them quiet. I think it's because people are so busy, they've got no time and they sit to eat. Oh, I haven't drunk. and then they drank water. And a lot of people think they just wash the food down. Wash the food down, they basically wash all their digestive enzymes away. We should be stopping water ideally half an hour before the meal, resume about an hour and a half after the meal. That hour and a half allows time for those digestive enzymes to start their breakdown. If someone's thirsty after a meal, by all means have a mouthful. But large fluid with the meal will water it down. Also, when people are eating every couple of hours, you see, we have one stomach. And that stomach, there's much research to prove this, that one stomach takes 3 to 4 hours to digest. And then that stomach loves a 1 hour rest. So what's that between meals? That's 5 to 6 hours between. Surely not for children. Do you know they've got the same digestive tract? And you might have noticed, I worked out very early, children say they're hungry when they're bored. Have you noticed? And often, when a hunger pang is experienced between meals, it's often dehydration. One day my son Peter came to me and said, "Mum, the water's not doing it anymore." I looked at my watch and said, "Great, it's lunchtime." When the water's not doing it anymore, it usually is time. It is time to eat. Also, what exhausts the hydrochloric acid is eating large amounts at the end of the day. See, when we go to sleep at night, our stomach wants to sleep too. So if there's a huge meal in there, you know, everything slows down. The stomach, this digestion's going to be very slow. And when the person wakes up in the morning, do they feel like eating? No. Now my son James, he's a builder. He works out every day. He's very fit. He eats 4 meals a day. He has breakfast at 5:30, and his metabolism is so fast because he's working so much that he has another meal at 11, and he has another meal, I think, about 4, and he goes to the gym at night and works out, and he has something else to eat about 7:38, and it does him well. Can you see how you've got to play with what works for you? One man said to me, "I grew up with 8 brothers. Our mother and father said you're having main meal for breakfast, main meal for lunch, and that's it." He said, "We're working hard on the farm." He said, "We'd get into our cars and go to town and eat junk at night." That mother would be far wiser to see she's got growing boys who are working hard and provide something for them to eat at night. So a meal at night that would digest quickly would be fruit or a salad or soup. Big growing boys can have 4 bowls of soup, or a protein drink. A protein drink can digest easily. You just got to work out what works for you, and your body will quickly tell you what's working. So that is what's broken down in the stomach. Protein and protein alone. All your starch digestion is put on hold because we're now in an acid stomach. And then we move through and come to the first part of the small intestine, which is called the duodenum. And the duodenum has 2 main organs that are emptying into it. Notice we've got the liver here, the gallbladder. The gallbladder is a reservoir for bile, and that bile duct comes down, connects with the neck of the pancreas, and empties into the duodenum. It's an alkaline environment in the duodenum. And the enzyme that is released from your gallbladder, so I'll just do GB for gallbladder, from the duodenum, is bile. And bile is an enzyme that breaks down long-chain fatty acids, so this is your unsaturated fats. So a lot of those fats are vegetable fats, you know, found in your nuts and your seeds. From the duodenum, the pancreas also releases some enzymes in there. And the pancreas releases pancreatic lipase. And pancreatic lipase does the final breakdown of the unsaturated fats. They're the long-chain fatty acids. So bile starts it, pancreatic lipase finalises it.